There are 3 ways you can give to support the love-focused, culture-changing, ever-evolving, community-building, Jesus-inspired work of the Village. You can text the word GIVE to 404-998-8979, 404-998-8979, or you can give online at thevillageatlanta.com/give, thevillageatlanta.com/give, or you can mail a check to the Village Church, 3418 Dogwood Drive, Hapeville, Georgia, 30354. Now let's get ready to get better so that we can do better, so that we can be better. Let's have church.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Village Church. We're so glad that you're with us, that you've chosen to join us. We think it's going to be a great day, and we're so glad that you're with us. My name's Ethan, and this is my wife, Rachel, and we're going to be doing some music for you this morning. Maybe some songs that you know or have heard before, and if you have, please sing wherever you're at, in your living room, in the shower. That's where you sound best anyways. In your car, wherever you're at, just sing along with us. We love you so much. And this is actually a song that I wrote a few years back called May I Have Eyes to See. And it's just about that very thing that Jesus teaches us, to have eyes that are open to injustice in the world, and eyes that are open to the poor, and eyes that are open to the things that matter to God. And we think that's really important at the Village. And Rachel's going to sing it, but it goes like this. Sing it if you know.
Oh, He turned his ear when I called for mercy. Oh, he heard my cry. For he is good. For he is good. Yes, he is good. Oh, for he is good. For he is good. Yes, he is good. I love the Lord. He heard my voice. He heard my cry. He turned his ear when I called for mercy. Oh, he heard my cry. For he is good. For he is good. Yes, he is good. Oh, for he is good. Oh, for he is good. Yes, he is good. For he is good. For he is good. Yes, he is good.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning to our village family. Good morning to our Everybody Church family, which encompasses people around the world. We get letters from people all over the world. Thank you for watching. And then for those who maybe have just stumbled on this service, thank you for being with us. I hope you'll find this beneficial. I hope you'll come back and join us again and again and again. Have a good talk today, but before I get into that talk, I just want to make mention of one thing. As the pastor of the local assembly, the village in Atlanta, one of our members for a long time, Herb Pharaoh, married to Tamika, a beautiful couple, dear friends to Jane and I. This past week, Herb's cousin was killed in North Carolina. You maybe saw it. It was one of those police encounters where, from what we know, he was unarmed and he was shot. And it's just a tragic, tragic thing. And they haven't released video of what happened, and so the family really doesn't know, but I do know it has been a terribly painful experience for Herb and for Herb's entire family. And we are a chosen family here at the village, and we feel as much a part of Herb's life as if we had been born of the same mother. We love Herb and we love Tamika, and we just want you to know, Herb, we love you and are praying for you. And we're really praying for grace in these next days and weeks as you guys walk ahead. Well, we began a series last week I'm really excited about. The gist of it was, how would I live differently if I knew I were dying? In other words, what if I knew I had only 30 days to live? Would it change any of my actions? What would I do if I focused my life on that dash? You remember we talked about the cemetery last week and how there is a born date and a dying date, and then there is that dash in the middle. If I focused on the dash, would it make a difference? And I was really happy. I got several emails, messages on Facebook with people who said, man, I needed that. I need to be thinking about that because I'm letting my life slip away, and I want to make sure that I live it to the fullest. We said last week there were 4 thoughts that we were going to explore over the next several weeks. We said if we knew we had only 30 days to live, or if we were trying, like the Tim McGraw song, to live like we were dying, these were the 4 things I wanted us to focus on. We'd want to live passionately. We'd want to love completely. We would want to learn in a humble posture, and we'd want to be at a place where we could leave this life boldly. And so that's what we said we're going to look at over the next several weeks. So today, we're going to talk about that idea of living life passionately. And let me just give you my definition for a passionate life would be a life where I said yes to the challenges of each day. In other words, I don't mean this glorious life that has no problems, this life where I'm on the beach in Tahiti. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a life where I say yes to whatever the challenges are each day. That would be for me a passionate life. So today we're going to talk about that, and I want to begin it by talking about a word that I alluded to last week, talked about it just a little bit last week, but I think it is one of the most dangerous words in the English language. And I want to suggest that this word has paralyzed many of us, and it has kept us from living our best life. And for a launching off spot, I want us to go to a Bible text that is from a strange story in Exodus chapter 8. So if you want to read along, Exodus, the second book in the Bible, chapter 8. Let me give you a little background on what's going on. At the end of Genesis, the Jewish people are living in Egypt, and they are received as wonderful friends because of the work of Joseph to save Egypt from a famine. His family is invited in, and everybody is just happy, happy, happy. But now, 400 years have passed, and the Jews are persona non grata in Egypt. They are despised. In fact, they are slaves. And it is a terrible thing. They work almost 24 hours a day. They are used and abused. It is a vicious cycle, and there appears to be no way out. So Moses in Exodus feels led by God to lead a revolt to get the slaves out of Egypt. He doesn't have much leverage, as you can imagine. He's leading slave labor. And they're a little shaky behind him as far as whether they believe this is going to work or not, and they don't want to die, which they feel like is probably going to happen if this revolt doesn't work. And every time Moses goes to Pharaoh and he says those famous words, "Let my people go," Pharaoh says, "No, they're staying. They are my workforce. This is how we're building pyramids. This is how we built our city. It's a wonderful thing when you don't have to pay for labor. This is how we're going to keep it." So Moses has a little help. And that little help in this story, which is a bizarre story, in this story is the help of God. There are plagues that are sent on Egypt to kind of make Pharaoh change his mind. There's 10 plagues to be exact. And again, strange story. We don't see things like this, or we certainly would not attribute things like this to God today. But let me give you what some of those plagues are. The Nile River turns to blood one day. That would certainly motivate me. If I saw that, I would think, oh my gosh, what is going on? There was a plague of pestilence, which was like an epidemic. Think Corona, think COVID-19, but think about it in a way worse fashion. That swept the country. And each time this would happen, Pharaoh got a little bit closer to letting the Jews go. There was a plague of locusts, where locusts just were swarming everywhere. There was a plague of people getting boils all over their body. There was a plague of hail falling from the sky. That was certainly a terrifying thing. And this is all getting Pharaoh's attention, but one of the most curious things is the thing I want to talk about briefly today, and that's the plague of frogs. I know, it's crazy. But the story says frogs are everywhere. If you can just imagine the room you're sitting in right now, or the car that you're in right now, wherever you are right now, if you can just imagine, what would it be like if it was filled with frogs? I mean, you'd have your feet up because frogs are everywhere. So Moses, these frogs are everywhere, comes to Pharaoh in Exodus chapter 8, verse 9, and this is what he says. Moses said to Pharaoh, "I leave to you the honor of setting the time for me to pray for you and your officials and your people, that you and your houses may be rid of the frogs, except for those that are going to remain in the Nile River." And that's a cool thing. Moses is saying, listen, Pharaoh, I'm saying you can decide when the frogs are going to go away. This is something you can do. You can do. Verse 10, one of the craziest verses in the Bible, begins with this. And Pharaoh says, tomorrow. I'd like the frogs out of my life, and it can begin tomorrow. That has always seemed so bizarre to me. There are frogs everywhere. What is he thinking? He can't back his chariot out of the garage without running over about 100 frogs. They're in his bed. They're in his clothes. They're on his table where he eats. They're in his food. The frogs are everywhere. And Moses says, hey, I'm connected. I can get rid of the frogs. When do you want them to go? And Pharaoh says, tomorrow. Is the sound of the servants shrieking as they step on frogs, is that music to his ear? Is he tired of sleeping alone? He likes hundreds of frogs in his bed. What could motivate someone to wait until tomorrow for something good they could handle today? That's a good question. And I have seen that same scenario lived out in my own life, and I bet you have seen it too. I have seen intelligent people do it. I've been in a room with cancer patients smoking through a tracheotomy and saying, hey, when do you think you might give up smoking? And they say through a very soft voice, I'm thinking about it, maybe tomorrow. I've seen a person staying in a relationship with an abuser, and everybody around knows it's not healthy. The person knows it's not healthy. And when I have pulled them off to the side and said, listen, this is killing you, and I worry about you. When are you going to get out? And I've heard them say, and I get it. I'm not no judgment. I'm just saying I've seen it. They've said, I think I'm going to try to get out tomorrow. I've seen one partner holding a grudge against another partner, nursing resentment, even though he knows it's destroying his own heart. And I have asked that person, when are you going to let it go? When are you going to let that go and really love again? And I have seen them say, tomorrow. I've seen people sinking into unmanageable debt, using credit card after credit card after credit, digging themselves a huge hole that just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And I've said, when do you think you're going to be able to stop? And I know they feel no power in being able to stop, but I've seen them say, I am going to stop. That's tomorrow. Interesting to me, Moses is saying life can be better, and it can be better right now. And Pharaoh says, yeah, let's get rid of that tomorrow. Moses says, I'm giving you the honor. Pharaoh, you call the shot. You can say it right now. And Pharaoh says, I can tolerate a frog-saturated life a little while longer. I'll get rid of the frogs tomorrow. It's not a great life with the frogs. There's not a lot of joy in it, but Pharaoh has learned he can survive it, and he prefers it. He prefers it to having to experience a change, I guess. So he uses that word, tomorrow. I say again, it may be the most dangerous word in the English language, that word tomorrow, putting off for tomorrow what really could be accomplished today. Now, we know that word, when we live always in the tomorrow, is procrastination. And procrastination is the failure to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. When I was a child, I learned this silly but true poem. Procrastination is my sin. It brings me naught but sorrow. I know that I should stop it. In fact, I will tomorrow. And a lot of us have experienced that. It's amazing how much that one trait can steal from us. There are a lot of consequences of procrastination. There are external consequences. They do screw up relationships. They do screw up finances. They do screw up one's health. But there is also internal consequences. By that, there is the constant anxiety that we feel when we know things need to be done, but we just are paralyzed and we don't do them. It's internal, that anxiety you feel, and it's very, very tough. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to spend the next few minutes with you, and I want to explore some ideas about procrastination. And my hope is maybe we will get unstuck. Maybe we will think a little more about the dash and say, we've got to live this life. We can't keep putting it off. We are living our dash right now, and we want to live it the best we can. I also don't want any of you to think that I have all the answers on this, because this is one of the biggest struggles that I have. This is one of the biggest mountains I have to climb. It steals from all of us, and it is a hindrance to us crushing the dash, which we want to do. And so I want you to know that I'm speaking to myself. And all week as I've thought about this, I have been rolling this over in my mind, because I struggle with this as well. First thing I want to do is ask the question, why do we procrastinate? I think there's several reasons. Number one, I think for me, is a sense of indecisiveness. Sometimes I don't know exactly what I need to do. I'm indecisive. There's so many options, and so I just kind of get frozen there. In the New Testament, James says it like this: unstable people can't make up their minds. I relate sometimes. I have a hard time making up my mind. Shopping is overwhelming to me. Some of you guys love to shop. You go in, the more stuff, the better for you. You compare, you do all this stuff. It just stimulates you. I shut down. When I see 10 different things, 10 different types of clothes, 10 different items that I'm trying to compare, it is almost overwhelming to me. I sometimes wish there was just one thing. I just want that instead of having to compare. I have the same experience with the television. On our TV, we have Netflix, we have Prime, we have Apple TV, we have Hulu, we have PBS. And Neil, my friend, Neil will he'll tell me that he watched something the day before, and he'll ask me about, did I watch anything? And what I have done is often just kind of gone through things, making decisions of things I might be interested in watching and adding them to my library, but never actually watching them. That's kind of an indecisive thing. And I think too many choices freezes us, and I think indecisiveness maybe is one of the reasons that we have procrastination. Number two, and this is surprising, but some people procrastinate because they're perfectionists. They are looking for that perfect opportunity, that perfect day, that perfect product that they're going to present. And so unless they have that perfection, everything lines up perfectly, everything is just exactly right, everything is exactly in the house the way it needs to be, their desk is exactly the way it needs to be. If they don't have perfection, then they can't begin. In Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 4, the Living Bible says it like this: if you wait for perfect conditions, you'll never get anything done. And I think that's a wise statement, and many of you might have experienced that. Another reason people procrastinate, and this is a big one, is fear. You play the what if game in your mind, and it freezes you. What if I do this and I get rejected? What if I make the sales call and he says no to me? What if I open up and am transparent with my partner and they make fun of me? What if I try to lose weight, but in the trying to lose weight, I put it back on? What if I try to get out of debt, but then I don't stick to the commitment? You say, what if, what if, what if? And it freezes you in fear. I realized this, several years ago. I realized that it is more comforting to add names to a list of people that you are going to call than to actually make the call, especially if you're in sales, if you're reaching out to people for a specific purpose. It feels more comforting to know you have a potential sale on a list than it does to actually dial the number. You don't dial, poke in the number, because they could possibly say no, and that fear freezes you. So you end up not doing the things you need to do. A fourth reason I think we procrastinate, and this is a big one, is depression. I love to give people the benefit of the doubt. I want people to give me the benefit of the doubt. I don't think anybody really is lazy. I don't think that's a part of the deal. I think often when you or I feel stuck and we aren't living life, we're not doing the things that we know we should be doing, I think for many of us it's because we are in a funk of depression. And we get even more depressed when we think we're letting the world slip by without doing the things we should be doing. And let me just say this. I don't want this talk at all to be a talk that you feel guilt about or shame about. I want this to be an uplifting talk where you realize all of us struggle in areas. All of us are trying to do our best, and God loves us right where we are. It doesn't matter. God's love for us, God's not disappointed with us. God knows everything about us. So this is not about trying to shame you or shame me. Please, no shame. This is just a reality that some of us are stuck, and some of that stuckness is depression. Let me say this to those who are fighting through the funk to live life. I mean, you are fighting through it. You are eating the healthy diet. You are exercising because you know that creates some serotonin for you. And so you are doing those things. Even though it's tough, it is so hard for you. I just want you to know that I think you are superhuman. I think you are amazing that you can do that. It is unbelievably hard. And yet I see people who can have the strength to be able to fight through it. And I want to say kudos to you. That is amazing. But there are some who are in such a dark place, who are in such a depressed place, that they find it impossible to take the very simplest of steps. And I want you to hear me. There is no shame for you, please. There's no shame. All of us are wired differently. All of us are wired differently. All of us have different experiences in our past. I'm glad that God knows all of that. God knows all the things you've been up against. God understands. So there's no shame. But I want you to know, if you are stuck and you can't take those steps and you've tried and you just don't have it in you to do it and you don't know what it's going to take, think about a therapist. Think about finding a therapist. Think about a doctor maybe that you can go to. There's no shame. Let a doctor put you on medicine. There are times when that might be the right answer for you. And I don't see medicine as competition with God. I see medicine as something that can be understood as a gift from God. And so please, if you're trying to fight this and it's not working, you're trying to fight it in your own strength and power, and you have given it to God and done all the things you think you can do, please, please see a doctor, talk to someone who maybe can help. So that's the fourth thing of why I think we procrastinate: depression, and it's a real deal, I understand. Now here's another question. Where might we be procrastinating? Now I thought about just kind of delineating all of these, but it became too many, right? I mean, it could be work, it could be home, it could be in our treatment of our brains, it could be in our treatment of our physical condition. It could just go on and on and on and on and on. So I just want to say one, and that is negative behavior patterns. I think that many of us might be procrastinating as it relates to negative behavior patterns. And what I mean by that is, as when I said that, I believe some of you got a little twinge of something that said, yeah, he's talking about this. He's talking about this uncontrolled anger that I have been displaying of late. Or he's talking about this resentment that I have felt towards this person. Or he is talking about, and it's just something inside of you, and I don't know what it is because I've got my own stuff, you've got your stuff, but something resonated and you just thought it in a moment. The character in the Old Testament, the first king of Israel, King Saul. When King Saul first comes along, he is really considered a great person. They call him the glory of Israel. He's a foot taller than everybody else, and yet he seems to be humble when he has his coronation as the king. He goes back to farming. I mean, that's how unbig-headed he is. He just seems like he is a wonderful person. But later in life, things begin to shift. One of the great stories in the Old Testament is David, this young, handsome, charismatic figure, comes along as a teenager and begins to get a lot of press. And Saul, as the older king, begins to get jealous and resentful And as David is going up, Saul begins to fall down. I wonder if maybe he could have ever had a moment or would have had a moment where it maybe would have just crossed his mind, this resentment is bad for me. This resentment, I don't need to keep living in this. This is leading me to destruction. We don't know. I have no idea. But that's what I'm talking about when I say behavior patterns, negative behavior patterns. And I think it's important. I wonder if Saul possibly would have changed had it gone across his brain and he said, you know what, I don't need to live one more day with the frogs. I need to deal with this because this is hurtful to me. One final place I thought that we might be procrastinating instead of delineating a long list, and this is one that's very sad, but I see it all the time, and I think people are procrastinating in the area of joy. In other words, they are putting off joy. They are delaying joy till tomorrow, till next week, till next month. There's a verse, and I think I have sung this verse and I have thought about this verse, and I don't think I've ever thought about it deeply, and I want us to kind of try to think about it deeply, but it's Psalm 118, verse 24. It says this is the day that the Lord has made, let us rejoice and be glad in it. Would you just say that in your home or in your car if it's not too embarrassing? Just would you say that this is the day that the Lord has made, let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. We shall be glad and rejoice in it. When do we do this? Today. We rejoice in this day. It doesn't say tomorrow is the day. It says this is the day, and that we should be glad and rejoice in this day with all of its imperfections, with all of its troubles, with all of its sorrows, with all of its brokenness, all of its problems. This is still God's day. This is the day God made. Let us rejoice. Tomorrow is not promised. We should not put off our joy until tomorrow. The psalmist says God hasn't given us tomorrow yet. God has given us today. I knew a woman, true story. I knew her, 45 years ago, who bought furniture and had plastic put on it and wouldn't let anybody sit on it, or if they did sit on it, it was uncomfortable because of this plastic, and she was keeping the plastic on it until that event, whatever that event was going to be, when it was time to finally take the plastic off and let people actually sit on the furniture the way it was intended to be sat on. And that lady died 15 years later, and we never sat on her sofa. I saw it. I can tell you who she is. I've known many, many people who had beautiful china, and they were saving it for that special meal. They're going to have a special meal one day, and that special meal they're going to pull out the china. And so it's in a cupboard, or it's in a dining room somewhere, a china cabinet, and they live their whole life, and they never take the china out. You want to live in this day? Can I suggest to you that you need to bring it out? This is the day. Bring it out. Do it now. Bring it out today. Let's do it today. I know some of you, like I have, we keep putting off. We're going to wait for that time. Let's live today. Moving towards the end. How do we overcome procrastination? A few thoughts quickly. Number one, it helps me when I wake up with gratitude. I don't always do it, and it makes a difference in my day. Now, I don't want to think for a minute that everybody's like me, because you're not. Thank God. Thank God that you are not all like me. I'm a morning person. Some of you are evening people. God doesn't care. God, who cares? God doesn't care. But I know for me, when I first wake up, if I wake up with a sense of gratitude, it seems to change the whole course of my day. For me, I roll up on one elbow, and this is when I live my best life, and it's my best day. Before my feet touch the ground, I thank God for my sleep. I thank God for yesterday and everything I learned, good and bad, and I thank God for the day. And usually run through in my mind things that I want to accomplish for that day, and then I swing around and put my feet on the floor. And when I do it with gratitude, it seems to make it a better day. Just a suggestion. Again, I know people are different, but the gratitude thing is important to me. Second thing is, and this is something I wish I could have all the time, and I wish you could have all the time, and that is a sense of urgency. Not in a crazy way, not in a manic way, but in a peaceful way, still having a sense of urgency. I have seen people, my whole life, I've seen people who've said they want to travel, and then they travel. And then I've seen other people who say that's their passion. They want to travel. But they never travel. They never travel. And it has nothing to do with the money. Both people, they have the same basic income. They're both middle-class families. One has an urgency that says, we're going to do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. We're going to find somebody who works for the airlines that can sell us cheaper tickets, get us cheaper tickets. We're going to search for deals. We're going to put our money where we have said we really want our lives to be, while the other keeps waiting, and they end up dying, having never done the thing they said they wanted to do. More than anything, there needs to be a certain sense of urgency. Steve Jobs is a hero to so many of us. We're big Apple people. We like MacBooks and all that stuff. And I love that he said, let's make a dent in the universe. And to me, when I hear that, and I hear it over and over and over again, there seems to be an urgency with that. Let's make a dent in the universe. Let's not just be flatlined and then down the road somewhere, let's do it. No, let's do it. Let's have some urgency. Let's go do it right now. The third thing, I think, is we do make mistakes. One of the big mistakes is excuses. We give excuses for stuff. Ben Franklin said people who are good at making excuses are rarely good at anything else. And I have been guilty of that. Excuse, and I've got to put the excuses aside. Well, let me wrap it up. Hebrews chapter 3, verse 15 says this, today if you hear his voice, don't harden your heart. What's the idea today? Today. Make decisions and do what's right today. When you know it in your heart, do it right now. If you sense the Spirit of God inside of you and you feel that little knocking on your heart's door that says, this is a good thing, this is something you could give your life to, then I want to suggest that you do it. Don't make excuses. Don't put it off. Just do it. We are not guaranteed tomorrow. I was thinking this past week about an Easter service at the village, I'm guessing 8 years ago. And it was one of our best services ever. I mean, the band was hot. The band was really ripping and playing. It was beautiful. And we had found out that morning that our youth minister, beautiful young lady, 41 years old, Sherry, had been taken to the hospital in an ambulance. She had, over the last week, she had just had some health issues, had some difficulty breathing, and so she wasn't with us, which was sad. But we still had a romping great Easter service. And so I finished the message, and then I walked off the stage over behind a curtain. Stage right at our church is kind of a green room area, and the praise team was going to sing one final reprisal of a song they had done earlier in the service, and then I was going to go back up on the stage with Jane, and we were going to tell everybody Happy Easter, and we were going to say a closing prayer and dismiss. So I wait for Jane to come to the back with me. She comes through the curtain. We're standing behind the curtain. Praise team is singing. And I never will forget Troy Vickers, who was just very important in our church's life. He came through the curtains and he looked ashen and he said, in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, Sherry died. Jane shrieked. I had to tell her, please be quiet. Because I knew we were going to have to walk up on the stage in just a minute. We were going to have to tell everybody. And so we had to kind of pull it together. In this moment, just pull it together. And she did. And we walked up on that stage. Everybody knew Sherry had been sick for a week, but it wasn't serious. And I had to say, Sherry, 41, mother of three beautiful children. Anyway, the audience, they of course shrieked. They didn't leave church. When I dismissed everybody, they just stayed. We prayed throughout the whole afternoon. But her life had ended at 41. Gone. Just like that, gone. Now I know statistics say most of us are going to live into old age, but some aren't. And you never know who it is that's going to have a shortened life. And since we don't know when the end is, maybe we really should live like we are dying. Maybe we really should try to crush the dash this week. Maybe we really should try to live a life thinking about how would we do it if the end was in sight. Let's take advantage of the day. Let's not procrastinate. Let's think this week, am I putting off to tomorrow what I really could and should be doing today? Next week, I'm going to talk about let's love completely, and I can't wait to talk to you about that. You guys are the best. I feel your love. I hope you feel love going your way. I want you to know that we believe in you. I want you to know this is never shame. It's never guilt. It is just hoping that all of us can accept God's love and then get better so we can do better, so we can be better and live the full life God has called us to live. Can I pray? God, thank you for every person who's watching right now, who's listening to this talk, who maybe is thinking they really want to crush the dash in their life. I pray that procrastination, all of us will face it. And in those areas where we can, we will do better so we can be better. And that we will live our life to the fullest. Help us not put off joy. This is the day you made. Let us rejoice in today and be glad in it. We love you, and we pray this in Christ's name. Amen. Blessings to you.